You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt Migaki, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Johannes Ekström of Avatar. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers!
This episode is brought to you by the fine folks over at Sinusoid. What's Sinusoid? You haven't checked it out yet? After I told you about it last time? The cables with the 100-year warranty and all that cool stuff? What are you, a dingus? Just head on over to Sinusoid and check them out already. They got a 100-year warranty on their cables. Oh, and also, they just came out with their Cable Builder version 3 on their website. They've added a ton of new options. You can put together the exact cable that you need for whatever application you're thinking. Speaker cable, instrument cable. They've added XLR options. Yeah, they've got you covered. So head on over, check out the new Cable Builder version 3, and, treat your guitar signal the way it deserves to be treated, for crying out loud. Hey everybody, welcome back to the ToneMob.com podcast, the show about guitar tone and the people behind it. And with me today, I have a very special guest, one I've been trying to wrangle for a while, and the stars just would not align with our weird schedules. But finally, it's happened, and I give you Mr. Joel Korte of Chase Bliss. Hello, sir.
Hello there. I'm glad that this is finally happening. We did it. We're doing it.
It is good.
We win.
The timing couldn't be better.
Yeah.
So things have been nuts for you, and everyone is freaking out about the Chase Bliss stuff, so congrats on that, first off.
Well, thanks a lot. Yeah, it's been it's been kind of a wild ride. That's sort of, everyone says that. That's kind of dumb. But it feels like that. It's been a lot of work, but I'm pretty happy with where things are at. Oh, I also should say at the top of the show, I always like to say this if I'm on a podcast or doing any kind of public speaking or whatever, because it makes me feel a little bit more comfortable, is that I stutter. So sometimes it might sound weird, but I'm talking, and that's just me stuttering. And hopefully by me saying this, then the listeners will listen to what I'm saying rather than how I'm saying it. Hopefully,
I don't think you'll have any problems.
Your listeners are nice people. You're saying?
Well, some of them.
Fair enough.
Yeah, they're good. They're the best listeners ever. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't let them listen if they weren't. I would turn it off. I just reach through the speakers and turn it off.
Well, the nice thing is you have control over that.
Yeah, I totally do. Mm-hmm. I put this out only for the very best listeners, and I don't let anyone that I don't like listen to it. So
I feel like we could just talk about this the whole time.
We could talk about this the whole time if you want. I can get into the science behind it, but it's really kind of proprietary technology that I don't want revealed.
No, I understand.
Which I'm sure you can understand.
Yeah. We shouldn't. As tempting as it may be.
So I this is actually good for me because I do know about your products pretty well and everything, and most people do. I only vaguely know the backstory behind yourself and your company. So why don't we kind of start with, when did you start playing guitar and how did that lead into what you're doing today, basically?
Right on. I always kind of struggle with this question because I could make it an hour long, but I don't want to do that. So I'm going to try to do the super condensed version of how
we have an hour. So you're good.
You probably want to ask a follow-up question or something, or Maybe even
depends on how interesting it is.
Maybe even I'll ask you a question or two, or is that not allowed?
No, you can. I don't know if I'll have a very good answer for it. I'm really bad at being on the other side of the interview table. So,
well,
but you can ask.
Okay. All right. I started to play guitar when I was 14 or 15 years old. The way I remember it starting, well, I was interested in it. And I told my mom one time when we were driving that if I could do my life over again, I would learn to play the guitar. And then she she said, I'm crazy. I was like 14 or 15 and, kind of laughed at me. And then we went and got a guitar at Guitar Center like the next weekend. So started playing and I guess she started to, I was interested in recording at the beginning. And that's when I kind of got interested in effects with, the various plugins and things like that.
Right.
And then later I was in college and trying to figure out what I wanted to study. And I'd kind of gotten more interested in recording and I was, like trying to find the best stuff for recording on a budget and things like that and kind of playing my guitar and just wondering how all of that stuff worked. And then I decided, I did some research and emailed some companies and I should go back and look at who I emailed. I wonder if it's anyone I know now. That'd be kind of funny.
That would be funny.
And they're like, this is the type of work electrical engineers, this is what they do. So I was like, oh, because I didn't really know anything. I didn't know anything about electronics at the time. And then just started doing that. And then graduated in 2007. But the big thing that happened to me that is sort of like the thing that sort of shaped my life since then is that my brother, who I was really close to in February of 2007, he was hit and killed by a drunk driver. And he lived out in California. He was pursuing an acting career. So that sort of just kind of turned everything upside down. And it's even saying that is kind of an understatement, because you just don't ever think anything. You hear about stuff happening, but then all of a sudden, you get a phone call like that, and it's still sometimes it's just hard to believe that happened. And he was all about, following your passions and following your bliss. And that's actually how I got the name of the company. His name was Chase, and that whole mantra, follow your bliss. He was really into this guy named Joseph Campbell, who's kind of known for that concept.
Mm-hmm.
And so that sort of like really changed my outlook on life. It took me a while to not just be like, it took about a year for me to not just be cripplingly sad, and so I did get a job out of school after I graduated there that I didn't like. And I was also started really, really struggling with my stuttering a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided that I needed to do something about that. So I had gotten some speech therapy in the past, but I decided to get therapy again. And it was a different kind of therapy. I promise I'm getting to your answer. I'm not going to go too far down this rabbit hole, but I also
that's okay.
All right.
Don't worry about it.
My therapy experiences as a youngster were all centered around this idea of trying not to stutter, or trying to be fluent, and it was always like looking at stuttering from the perspective that is really negative. And
right.
I started to learn about some new approaches and strategies that were more centered around, working with your stuttering and accepting your stuttering and being open about it, and not trying to avoid it. It was really emphasizing communication rather than judging success on whether or not you're stuttering. Otherwise, I mean, if success for you is not stuttering, it's just then the easy thing to do is just not to talk at all, because that guarantees you're not going to stutter,
right.
but you're not going to be a very good communicator in that regard. Anyway, so I got really into that, and then I decided I want to switch careers and be a speech language pathologist. So,
interesting.
Yeah, I enrolled in graduate school and quit my job. And I decided that I still needed to have some kind of income, but I wanted it to be something that was really interesting and that I cared about. So I basically harassed Zach Vex at ZVEX for a while, and
nice.
Told him, hey, I'm an engineer. I got this undergraduate degree in electrical engineering, and I'll work for anything. Basically, like, how can I, work for you? So then this interesting thing happened where, as once I got the job at ZVEX and I was going to grad school for speech language pathology, I stuttering, like from all the work I was putting into it, it started to become like less and less of a barrier for communication for me. And then I started to become more and more interested in engineering and guitar pedals specifically. I just, I got the bug, and
it's a dangerous bug.
It is,
yes.
and it gets all of us, and it got me really hard. And I was also starting to play out in a band with some friends that I'd never really, I don't know, just never really felt like I had the confidence to do that. And so it was just like a lot of positive change in my life after a lot of like really tough times. And I kind of realized that I needed to keep working on this guitar pedal thing. So the part-time ZVEX job turned into a full-time job. I still went to graduate school, but I changed from full-time to part-time. Worked for ZVEX for 4 years. And then finally it was coming up on my graduation for my master's degree. And it was kind of this weird decision time where I felt like I wanted to do that a little bit, like, maybe be a part-time speech therapist helping people who stutter. And then I also felt like, I was starting to want to pursue some of my own ideas for guitar pedals. And so ended up leaving ZVEX, but I still did contract work for them for about a year after that, just to, sort of, just to, kind of smoothly transition. And, obviously that was sort of hard because, who wants to hear that their engineer employee like wants to start their own company, so that was kind of, sort of a tough
little
time.
Awkward.
Yeah, exactly. And then,
like, hey, Zach, I want to be a direct competitor, by the way.
Yeah. Not the type of kind of conversation you want to hear as a business owner. And now, now I'm a business owner, so you can even, have more empathy for situations like that. But I was really honest about everything. And I think as much as that's unpleasant, I think it's always for the best to
I'm just waiting for my intern that day. He tells me he's going to go start his own podcast. I tell you, it's going to be a bad day. It's
going to be a tough day. You know what? It's going to be a tough day.
Oh man.
So So yeah, then I started Chase Bliss, and I worked on Warp Vinyl every second I was able to, but I also, I was also finishing up my master's degree and working as a speech therapist a little bit, and then also doing the contract stuff for ZVEX. And I just not quickly, but it took a while, and I was like, you know what? I am not so much into the speech therapy thing. It's not that I didn't like it. It's just that I'm kind of more introverted. So like working that intimately with other people the whole day is just sort of draining for me. And it was turning into like my least favorite days when I would do therapy with people. And my favorite days were always if I had any time to work on Warp Vinyl. Like I was just like ravenous. Or wait, is that a word? Ravenous?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes sense, right? In that context?
It totally does.
Sweet.
Yes. You nailed it.
So like it just became obvious to me. It's like, this is what I love. This is my bliss. And, released Warp Vinyl December of 2013. And then found another temporary engineering job that lasted for about a year. And then after that, I'd still just been working on Chase Bliss audio stuff any chance I was able to. And then a year after that, took the plunge to going full time Chase Bliss audio, and yeah, here we are. Now I've got a couple.
Here we are, and here we are today.
I got a couple employees, and we moved out of my basement about 2 months ago into a little shop. So,
nice.
Yeah, it's kind of almost like we're a real company.
I think you guys are legitimately a real company at this point. I think you've well earned that title, because it's kind of, you're on the tip of everybody's tongue. So I think you can call yourself a real company with confidence now.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yes. So one thing I wanted to dig into a little bit is, you have really unique takes on effects, obviously. That's kind of the whole point. How do you go about like conceptualizing some of this stuff? Is there a process, or does it just kind of like those things come to you in the shower, as they so often do?
Well, it's really interesting you're asking me this question right now, because I had an idea yesterday, and I haven't been more excited about working on a pedal since the original Warp Vinyl. I'm so excited about it, but it might be a spectacular failure. So
I doubt it.
It might be like, a week from now, I'm going to run some tests to see if it's even going to work really. But it could be a thing where it just is not going to work, or it kind of works, but it sounds terrible. If it doesn't sound good, there's no point in it,
Oh, yes. I totally know what you mean.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, sometimes, with some of the pedals like tremolo or, with the delay, it was like, well, we're doing these modulation pedals. I really need to make a tremolo, and then like trying to figure out how to make one that I like, and with the delay, it's like everybody's asking for a delay basically since we started. So we should, and I love delays, but I mean, who doesn't love delays? But it was a thing like, I need to make a delay. Like, how can I make it cool? And this one, this new idea was more like more just inspiration, because I don't think, as far as I know, it's not. Yeah, it's different. Just different.
Mm-hmm. Well,
did
that's
that
exciting.
Answer your question?
No. but you have a new idea, and that's an exciting thing. So I'm sure you don't want to reveal that at this time, but we can do that when the mics aren't hot.
Not 100% sure what it is yet. What you'd even call it, but we'll see.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But I guess I'll re-ask it and see if maybe you can answer it. Well, it's kind of a difficult question because it's kind of like, how did you write that song? Okay. So the question was like,
it was how?
How do you how do you conceptualize these things? Do you like sit down and purposely try to like figure out a new thing, or do you does it just come to you and you engineer a way to make it happen?
Well, I guess I'll just talk about this last time because it's fresh in my head, but I think every way is a little different. Is that I saw this thing and it was a little bit like something I'd thought about before. And then I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And then I had decided it wasn't possible. And then like 3 hours later, I was rollerblading around.
Yes,
pushing my son in his.
I love stroller. That you were rollerblading around.
And I was like, I was. My wife wasn't feeling well, so she didn't want to go to the park with my son and I was like sad that she wasn't feeling well, but I knew that it was going to be an opportunity for me to just sort of zone out. Mm-hmm. And other times, if I zone out with my wife around, it's pretty frustrating because she'll ask me a question and like I won't even know anyone else is talking. It's like really awful,
Yeah.
And so I was a little bit sorry. I didn't hear what you said. What did you just say?
Oh, I said I know the feeling.
Okay.
I do the same thing, and then I get punched.
Yeah. Well, and that's reasonable. Reasonable.
I think so too.
A punishment. So I was kind of excited because I was like, I know I'm going to have some zone out time here, and at some point in my head, I think I solved the problem that I thought was insurmountable. And so that was exciting. And then I just kept thinking about it. And then I just sketched out like a rough, conceptual idea about like what the knob parameters could be. And this will all, change through the development process, but it's just like a rough idea of what it could sound like. And then I was explaining it to my sales manager, Holly, this morning, and we have this big whiteboard. We got a freaking whiteboard in our workshop, which probably doesn't sound like a big deal to anybody. But when we were in my basement, there were no whiteboards. Now we have a whiteboard. And I just sort of like wrote out the idea and drew some stuff and explained it to Holly, and she thought it was cool. So anyway,
you're just like, it's just I want to just say, what is it, Joel? What is it, Joel?
I know,
but I know I shouldn't ask that question.
Yeah,
but
just because there is like a pretty good.
What is it, Joe?
Sorry, what did you say?
So I'm mentally saying, what is it, Joel?
Yeah.
I like it. That's what, as it turns out, you need to talk on a podcast, or otherwise it just doesn't do anybody any good.
Yeah.
It would just be an hour of silence.
I just, it's funny. I just did a podcast a couple weeks ago, and I could tell I have a little bit of different energy right now because I think I'm so excited about this idea. And
what show did you do?
It was called the Creative Path Podcast. He, the guy that does the podcast also has a little guitar pedal company called Mattoverse. His name's Matt, which I think is clever. Okay. Mattoverse. Like, what a great name. That. Yeah. So I listened back to the podcast, and you know how like that phenomenon when you hear your voice and it sounds weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate editing my show. I hate it. Not because I don't like hearing other people talk, but then I talk, and it's like, do I really sound like that?
Well, yeah. It was weird because, I was stuttering a lot, which I usually don't care about. But then I felt bad because I sent him the local recording file from me, and it was something I did where like the S's every time I stuttered. And now if people listen to this, they're not going to be able to listen to it because they'll be so annoyed by it, like I was. Like all the S's were like so prominent, and I was stuttering a lot.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So you know that the technique when you're recording called de-essing or whatever, where you like remove those frequencies to make the S's less salient, I guess.
Yes.
I needed to do that, I think. What were you even, what did you just ask me about? I'm all over the place here.
Good question. I don't remember because I was like, I was excited. I like podcasts, so I was all excited to check out this other podcast. So,
okay.
But
he has had a lot of interesting.
I mean, at the same time, it breaks my heart that you would cheat on me with another podcast. I can't believe you would do that.
I wasn't planning to cheat. Just one thing led to another. And, you know.
It started out so innocently. We were just talking about pedals, and the next thing you know, the mic's hot, and we're just going. And I didn't know what to think, but it was fine.
But I think what's good is that we're talking at a time. Yeah, this is what we were talking about. We're talking at a time where I'm like really jazzed about something. So I'm hoping that when I listen to this when I listen to this podcast, I'll hate my voice slightly less.
Well, you're doing good. Okay. So I don't hate your voice.
Okay.
I think it's very marvelous and smooth.
Well, I actually like your voice a lot. So I mean, I don't know what you're talking about when you're saying you don't like your voice. You have a fine voice.
I think it's. Oh well, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that. I could sound like I don't know who's. I'm trying to think of a celebrity with an annoying voice, the nanny or something, and that might be not a good choice for podcasting.
Different experience. One might not necessarily be a negative thing. Just be different.
just different. Not better or worse, just different. So let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to think. There are so many questions I want to ask you, and then we started talking about this and how you were zoned out while you were rollerblading, and I just have this image of you rollerblading through a park, like all like 90s out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you own a neon green T-shirt, but I'm imagining that's what you were wearing.
You know, man, I don't want to break up the fantasy, but I think I was wearing like a Chase Bliss audio shirt. It was pretty bland.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
When you're in public, you got to be repping that stuff.
Well, it's not that. It's just that I don't if you're rollerblading. They're comfortable shirts. You know, it's more of a comfort thing. You know.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, and I have a lot of them. You don't want to be the guy in the band
you made them
or
something.
You know, that wears the band shirt, right? That's not cool.
Yeah, I know, but at the same time, I like my shirts too, so I wear them.
Yeah. Are you one of those people that wears cool clothes? Do you have cool clothes?
You met me. I'm not very cool.
See,
if you remember. Of course, it was NAMM, and it's hard to remember everything, but I'm not very cool, no.
Well, NAMM, a lot of like people have cool clothes, and I'm not one of them. And my employees,
I'm not either.
My employees, they have cool clothes. So I asked them, is there like a secret store where you guys get these? And apparently there is. They're called thrift stores.
There is?
Yeah.
Oh. Now we know. You know, I'm in Portland. I should know these things. Yeah. But yeah, I don't wear cool enough clothes.
Yeah, I don't have cool clothes. But I kind of want. No. I want to have cool.
You want
clothes.
To wear cool clothes?
Yeah.
Just have your employees take you shopping, and you'll be all decked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then maybe you can advise me on how to dress cooler, because half the time I'm just wearing like a t-shirt and pants. And
here's the thing, though: most people that wear cool clothes aren't even aware that they're wearing cool clothes.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So maybe you actually do wear cool clothes.
I don't think I do. I'm pretty sure that I don't. I don't know.
And welcome back to the Cool Clothes podcast, where we try to see how many times Joel and I can say cool clothes before people shut it off.
Oh, man. Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
So you talked about lately you've been playing live, or not lately, but you started playing live as you kind of became more comfortable with that stuff.
Yeah.
What kind of music do you play, and what kind of bands are you in, or how's that kind of manifesting itself?
Yeah, the main project I was playing in is called Ghost Towns of the West. And
I like that.
Yeah, it's rock.
I like that a lot. That's a good name.
Thanks. It's kind of long, but it's rock music, and I think we were getting a little bit more into psychedelic sort of genres before everyone moved away. And I've just started up a band again because my main friend, who had moved to California, is one of the reasons why Ghost Towns of the West isn't playing anymore. He moved back home, and we're playing together again. And it's more poppy, I guess. I don't know. It's all rock music. Like there's 2 guitars and drums and a bass guitar. And then in Ghost Towns of the West, we had a keyboard player who also played sax, which was pretty cool.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
So when you say like rock, though, like, is it like kind of more of a grunge focused thing, or like a 70s kind of jam, or what do you mean? Rock's a broad category these days.
Well, it was pretty quite a lot of variety because it wasn't just one songwriter. All of us were contributing songs. So, and you know, we grew up in the 90s, so there's always some influence there. But then as I got more heavy into effects, I think that sort of influenced things too. I don't know. Some guy said that it sounded
like a shoegaze type of way, or
kinda. Some guy said that one of our songs I posted sounded like Soundgarden, and then I listened to it and I'm like, oh, I guess it kind of does.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
it's weird how some people can draw things out of it, and then you go, oh, I don't even listen to that band very much, but yeah, it kind of does.
Mm-hmm.
I had a similar thing happen where, I was told by Michael Adams, who's been on the show a couple times, that our band sounded like the Frames.
Oh,
and I was like, I don't even listen to the Frames. What are you talking about? And I went and listened to the Frames, and it turns out he was right. It was kind of an interesting situation.
Yeah, because if you sounded exactly like the bands you really like, that would be kind of weird.
It would. I mean, you can definitely tell there's influences there, but it's, it's not a clone, which is, kind of important with music, I think.
And guitar pedals sometimes.
And guitar pedals. Yeah. And, well done. There's no clones in your lineup. That's blatantly obvious.
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to definitely avoid that. Although I will say that the womb tone was inspired by the Mutron Phaser 2.
Oh, okay.
If you looked at the schematics, you'd be like, really? Maybe. But it definitely is. It sounds kind of.
No, that's what I say when I look at schematics. I say, really?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
I ended up changing a lot more than I actually thought I would, but it would, for me, not to say it wasn't inspired by that would be disingenuous, I think.
I see.
Because I love that phaser. My goodness.
It is really cool.
It's a good one.
Really, really cool.
Yeah.
Phaser, I've talked about it before, but that's something of a recent thing that I found out I loved. I didn't know that I loved it, but I actually do.
Yeah.
And I got the Solid Gold Effects Apollo 2.
Oh, nice.
And that's what made me realize I actually like Phaser.
I haven't played that one, but I watched a few videos on it. It's like, yeah, that one seems really cool.
It definitely is. Definitely. And now I need a wound tone. I need them all. And then your pedal, just from demos alone, I haven't got to play this one yet, but I didn't think I liked Flanger either. But Spectre has, I think, changed my mind about that.
Thanks, man. I'm pretty sure. It's weird with Spectre. It's definitely been like the most polarizing of all the pedals. That one feels like the most risky sonically. Mm-hmm. So it's not for everybody for sure, but I really like it, and it's nice to hear from some people that really love it, but then some people don't like it.
I think, that's definitely on the short list is Spectre, because I was like just watching, and then you like posted and I reposted a clip of Dylan with Robe playing it the other day, and I was like, I love it even more now.
Yeah, that was fun for me because that's the one pedal of mine that he doesn't have. And so I was like, I was telling him, like, well, some people don't like this about it, some people don't like that. And I was like kind of showing everything. And then it seemed like he really liked it a lot. And so that was kind of cool. I wasn't really expecting him to like it as much as he did. I thought he would like it or say he would like it because, it's kind of rude to just tell someone to their face they don't like something they made. But if he actually doesn't like Spectre, he is a really good actor because he made it seem like he did. It's really fun especially like my favorite way to use Spectre is just put just gnarly stuff in front of it. And we were playing around with the Earthquaker devices, Bit Commander, and those two pedals especially, I think there's some really cool stuff that happens. So he was enjoying that.
I love the Bit Commander.
Oh man, it's so fun.
I have one of those, so I'm halfway there.
Yeah, that's what you should do. If and when you try or have a Spectre, they're friendly with each other.
I'm very excited now. I'm really weird. Like when I think about new sounds that I can make, I get like way too excited, I think. Like my wife sometimes is like, calm down. Like it's fine. I'm like, no, it's so cool. It's so cool.
I haven't felt. It just brings me back to what I'm trying to work on right now. Like I'm so excited about this sound. Sorry, I keep talking about it.
And I'm excited about it too, and I don't even know what it is.
You know what? Once I'm comfortable enough that it's happening, maybe me and you can have a secret conversation about it.
Oh, I loved. That's one of the best things about like doing what I do in this gear world is I get to have so many secret conversations,
secrets,
and I feel like a cool kid. I'm like, I know something you don't know, but I don't tell anybody that I know it because then they'll just ask me all the time. But I'm riddled. Yeah, I'm riddled with secrets.
I'm usually pretty upfront about stuff. I think it kind of takes people off guard. Like someone will be emailing me and they'll be like, "What are you working on?" And I'll just tell them. Like a normal company would be like, I might, it's someone I've never met before, but I'll just say, well, keep it between us, as if I can trust this stranger. But I think normal companies that know what they're doing about marketing and stuff, they're smarter about stuff like that.
What are you working on, Joel? Oh, an atomic bomb.
Yeah.
But keep it between you and I. Don't let anyone know. So, here's a good question. This is something I've been wondering about. I'm glad I remembered it. Which of your pedals because they all have a lot going on, obviously. Which of your pedals was the most challenging for you to work on and actually see it through to completion?
I would say that, it's easier for me to talk about to start. I'm going to answer your question, I promise. But I think Womb Tone and Gravitas were the easiest because I mean, womb tone, like I said, I started out with that neutron framework, and then with gravitas, it was just more applying a bunch of stuff I already knew how to do, and like modulating volume actually isn't that difficult. Okay, so then that would leave the 3 remaining pedals, which is tonal recall and Spectre and warp vinyl. I mean, warp vinyl was extremely difficult because I had to design, the digital control kind of platform that I use. And I had to start from the beginning, and that one, it's harder to do that. That pitch modulation.
Right.
And Spectre had a ton of issues that were tough, and then tonal, it's like all 3 of those both. I feel like though tonal recall was like the worst because there's so much riding on it, and it's so many people that were interested in it, and there's this tremendous amount of pressure, and then there was all these problems that came up, like way later than they should have. I was just miserable. It wasn't fun at all at the last little while with that. And you and I were talking a little bit because you were trying to get me to do the podcast, and I was like, I was in a dark place. I seriously was. Like, I'm kind of joking. Actually, I'm not even joking. Like, it was pretty awful, personally and professionally.
Oh, no.
But it all worked out somehow.
Okay, good.
Just a lot of hard work and no sleep, and being, my wife asking me a question 3 times and me not even hearing it, Anyway.
Yeah.
Good times.
Well, I'm sorry that I was harassing you during your difficult time.
No, you weren't harassing me. You were actually really understanding, which I appreciated. You really were. And that's why I'm glad we were finally able to make this happen because it took a lot of stabs at it, but here we are.
Hey, it's still not the hardest or the longest in process.
Nice. Yes.
The longest in process one was Philippe.
Oh.
And
that's awesome.
That was I thought it was like 9 months, but then I went back and looked at like the first email I sent him, and it was like a year.
Oh man, that's awesome. That makes me feel way better. It wasn't even close to that. What was it, like 3 months?
No, and it was not really. Yeah, it was like 3 months. Well, I mean, maybe we talked 4. About it at NAMM.
Oh, that's
but
true.
Like, I didn't actually hit you up though, to do it until like 3 months ago.
Okay.
So that's okay. And actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, it's been a little less consistent with the communication. But Nick Greer's, I hit him up right around the same time as Philippe, and we still haven't done it yet. so don't feel bad.
Okay, so if it ever works out with Nick, then that's going to be the new record.
That'll be the new record, exactly. And I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
It's partially like we were going to do it several times, and you know how these things work.
We almost didn't do it today. And then we're just like, let's just do it
today. Like, let's do it, man.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
No. And people will probably listen to this going, well, these guys are all jerks. They keep blowing you off. No, half of it's me. Like trying to get to people's schedule who are kind of just inherently busy all the time to line up is extremely difficult.
Yeah, and you're busy too. So, yeah.
Blah. In a different way, but yes. So anyway, so the answer to that question was Spectre, warp vinyl, and then tonal recall being the cherry on top.
Yeah. I definitely had the most negative feelings associated with tonal recall as far as like the stress involved. But I don't think that was really your question. Yours was like the hardest technical challenges, right?
Well, no, not really. I just asked which one was most challenging.
Oh, okay.
So if it's emotionally more challenging, then that's the most challenging one.
Yeah, I would say tonal recall. I think, if you were just looking at the technical aspect of it, it would have been more vinyl because that one, I had to write all that code and develop that digital control platform that I'm able to it's not like I have to rewrite all that stuff for every pedal. I'm able to reuse a lot of code fragments, and
Right.
And so I think that from a purely technical perspective, just because all the work involved, it was the original Warp vinyl, but that was also super fun. And like, I didn't have an email address, I was just working on a project. I didn't have, social media. It was just like super, super fun. Whereas with Tonal Recall, it was fun, but there was so much on the line, like emotionally, financially, and also just very, very technically challenging to do what I'm trying to do. So that one, it was the most challenging.
Well, the good news is based on our conversation we had off the air, it paid off though. So that's the light at the end of the tunnel on that one.
Yep, it did.
Everyone's freaking out about it in a good way. So I think mission accomplished.
It's mostly the more critical feedback that I hear about it is that they want it to sound like some other delay they like, and that response to that's always like, well, just play the delay you like, then.
Well, I've seen that too.
Yeah.
If it doesn't sound like whatever, I'm like, then go get that thing.
Exactly.
What's the point of having this new cool device if you just want the other thing?
Especially if it's
it doesn't make any sense.
In production and made overseas and affordable. Why would I make that thing that you can easily buy?
Yeah, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Yeah, I've seen that in a couple places, and I'm just like, well, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So
or people think it's too expensive, which I totally get. I think I said this on the other podcast. It's like I can't get mad at a version of myself from like 10 years ago, if because I used to think everything was too expensive, but then once you make something that's nice and you realize what it costs, then like the truth is I wouldn't be able to afford one of my own pedals probably, which is kind of sad, but that's just the way it goes, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's been talked about on the show before. Many times.
Oh yeah.
Like what goes into it and then what you actually, it costs that much for a reason.
Yeah.
And it isn't because you're just rolling in them Benjamins,
Right.
It doesn't work like that. Yeah, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but like that I haven't said already, I guess. It's just it costs what it costs for a reason, and it isn't because you or anyone else is getting wealthy. That's kind of the end of the story there. I don't know of any Bill Gates pedal billionaires. Do you?
I don't. I think that it's just not a good industry if you're. Well, I don't know. I don't know like all the companies everywhere, but the pedal industry is pretty close, and people talk a lot, and people do it because it's just so fun.
Yeah.
Unless you get super stressed.
It's kind of like
mostly fun.
Mostly fun, exactly. Well, that's kind of like I talk to Brian Wampler every week on Chasing Tone also, so
cool.
I'm multi-podcasting. I just realized something. I was getting after you for cheating on my podcast, but I realized I cheat on my own podcast all the time.
You do?
Oh no.
You sort of.
That's so weird. Well,
that's okay. It's all working out as long as you're honest about it, right?
As long as
all the podcasts are on the same page and they all know about it. It's all good.
But yeah, it's all fine.
I'm not sure where I was going with that.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like make a joke, and then I don't know I don't want to make that joke.
I'm just trying to make you feel better about your infidelity. I probably shouldn't. I should just probably tell you to stop. Just focus on one. You know,
just focus on one and pour all your love into that one.
Yeah,
one podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brian would get mad at me.
Yeah,
I can't have him mad at me.
Yeah.
But where I was going with that was, he's talked about it too. Is it's not really about like becoming a gazillionaire. It's about going to bed on Sunday and being excited for Monday morning instead of what most of us do, which is. So, I think that is worth the headaches. I should say. I would think.
I agree.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. We're getting close, but we still have time for a couple more.
Okay.
So normally at this point, I would be asking you if you had anything really exciting coming up, but we've kind of been talking about that the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's a mystery sound device that I'm going to go wild in my imagination with, and I can't wait to know more. So then that would bring us to the classic question that usually comes up on the Tone Mob podcast, which is, what kind of pizza do you like?
Man, see, I'm one of those people that it's kind of gross. I'm sort of a human garbage disposal, and I'll eat anything.
Anything?
But edible things for sure.
Okay.
I think that if I were to just order a pizza right now, it'd have a lot of veggies on it, for sure. And, the meat, it would probably depend on the menu. I mean, one thing I like to do a lot is just ask the waiter or the waitress what to get, because they're the professionals,
Well, that's true.
So
that's a good point.
I know what I like, but I also want some suggestions.
Right. Some variety.
Yeah.
But what if is it one of those things where, like, I mean, you love guitar pedals, obviously. Mm-hmm. That's well established. But you spend all day, every day with them, and you're, tweaking and tuning and thinking about pedals and pedals and pedals. Do you ever get, to a point where you're just like, I don't want to look at guitar pedals for just a little bit. And I think that the waitress might feel the same way about pizza.
Oh, but I was going to say it's actually kind of the opposite for me, because what I spend too much time doing that I don't like is like emailing and like doing administrative stuff from the business that I actually wish I could spend more time with guitar pedals. So even though I'm around them all the time, it feels like I don't get to spend enough time. Like playing guitar and playing with pedals. Maybe the pizza lady feels like that way. Maybe she's around pizza all the time, but she never gets to take a bite.
Right. She's just carrying it and looking at it and smelling it, doing everything that's fun except the actual eating of the pizza.
Except for the eating. And so then maybe she would actually really like to have a little snack at the end of her shift.
Oh, man. You're a wise man.
Well, not so much. I'm just really trying to drive in this pizza analogy.
It's interesting that you brought that up, because I've kind of noticed that myself. Is I actually have, like, kind of when I started doing all this, not at the same time, but I started taking guitar lessons a couple of years ago, because I'm not very good, and
me too.
I needed to get better. Yeah, and it was really paying off. But then I started doing this and getting more gear focused, and I just didn't have time to take the lessons anymore. And as a result of that, I just kind of hit that wall where it was helping, and then I hit the wall and stopped taking lessons, and now I'm still just kind of, I just hit the guitar and hope that sound comes out of it, basically.
Yeah. That's the thing.
It's interesting that you brought up that, you don't get to play the pedals as often. And it's like, I don't get to, practice as often, because I'm like, I'll get something from somebody and they'll be like, tell me what you think of this. Mm-hmm. And so I'll have to sit down and kind of just critically think about what it sounds like. Yeah. More so than what I'm playing.
Yeah. So you have to play stuff that, you sort of have like a sonic blueprint or understanding of what, you probably play some like huge chord that what it sounds like when you played through something similar. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of compare. Yeah, I get that.
Exactly. So it's like, it's not, and oftentimes like you don't want to play like the super complicated things through it, because you're really trying to listen. Mm-hmm. You're not trying to shred. You're just trying to, what does this pedal sound like? Yeah. So that I can tell the guy what I think about it. So that he can, do what, that's why he sent it to me. He didn't send it to me for his health. So yeah, it's kind of weird that my playing has suffered as my gear collection has expanded.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. I think it happens to a lot of people.
I need to fix that.
Yeah. It's hard. It's a hard balance, I think, to, you get really into gear to not, to keep the balance where you're also working on improving the proficiency of your instrument. But, I think there's also something to be said about, when you play a lot with effects like I do, you're also learning how they interact with each other, and, you're improving at the nuance of playing with an effect. So even though you might not be able to do some impressive run or something, you're improving in another way, which I don't know. I'm super biased, but I think that's, of equal importance to me.
Yeah, you are learning how to craft new sounds.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you're playing with others, you're learning how to play with others and how to make, some interesting sound that you're working with, how to make that sit in the context of other instruments and stuff.
Which is kind of a skill, in and of itself.
Absolutely.
To your point, I know a lot of much more talented guitar players than I that they're like, what are them foot pedals? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it is a kind of a different skill set, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay, let's pat each other on the back now, because we feel better.
We're fine. We're fine. We're good.
We're totally good.
We know what we're doing.
Totally 100% good.
Yeah.
So, well, Joel, we're right there at that hour mark.
Sweet.
I should let you... I mean, I could probably talk to you all day. That would be cool with me, but...
I think we'll probably do this again. I'm getting that vibe.
Okay.
Someday.
Let's do that.
All right.
Let's pencil that in the calendar. I don't think anyone's going to be offended about it.
All right. I don't think so either.
Okay. Well, for the last couple minutes here, do you have anything you want to plug? Where can people find you? Where should they go? And all that good stuff.
Well, we do have a website. I mean, I know that's shocking. ChaseBlissAudio.com. If you want to talk to me, just email me at joel@ChaseBlissAudio.com. One kind of cool thing we've recently introduced is one complaint we used to get a lot about our manuals and literature we send with the guitar pedals is that we didn't have presets or, example settings. Well, we fixed that now, and we have example settings that were created by Mason Stoops, who's an amazing guitarist, and he recorded all of them, or recorded something with all of the example settings, and they're up on our SoundCloud, which is soundcloud.com/ChaseBlissAudio. And that's been something I've been wanting to do for a long time. So I'm pretty excited that it finally happened.
Sweet. That's awesome. I'm going to check that out. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Joel.
Thank you, Blake.
I'm so glad we were able to do this.
Yeah, right on.
I'm going to go ahead and close the show out the classic way. So for Joel, this is Blake, and good luck and good tones.
That was awesome. I am so glad we were finally able to make that happen. Joel is an awesome dude, and his pedals are insane. So if you haven't checked him out for some reason, make sure you head on over to chaseblissaudio.com and please just feast your ears. It's a treat. Also, if you enjoyed this episode or any of the other episodes, it would be great if I could get some iTunes reviews. They really help spread the show like more than you would think. It really helps me out. If you enjoyed the show, please head on over to iTunes, leave us a nice review, and I will be eternally grateful. And yes, I do read every single review, and the nice ones make me feel so warm and fuzzy inside. And we know, fuzz is a good thing. So take care, have a good week, and I will talk to you next time. One last thing before we totally sign off here, I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.